Hi, I'm Mark Bellamy, York County's Director of Public Works, and I'm here today with Betsy Hodson and Brian Woodward to talk about mosquito control and stormwater. And so we'll get started with Betsy. So talk a little bit about why we need mosquito control. What's the purpose of mosquito control?
Well, mosquito control is very important for managing the populations of mosquitoes because they can affect our enjoyment, their annoyance. They can also have an economic effect on the county. So it's really important that we manage them.
Okay. And Brian, you and I have been around here for a little while, so I thought I might ask you today about the history of mosquito control and stormwater. You share a little bit about that?
Sure. Going back to when I was a young boy growing up in Edge Hill, I used to ride my bicycle behind a fog truck, chasing it down the road. So mosquito control in York County has been around for a while. In the late 1980s, Tom Gallagher was the first mosquito control superintendent hired solely for mosquito control. Him, alongside Jim Rhineflesh, the biologist at the time, really took mosquito control in the county to the next level. Over the years, they moved from having 2 drainage maintenance crews to 3 drainage maintenance crews, is where we stand today. They changed the larviciding program. It used to be labor intensive with liquid product that the guys would have to go back into the backwoods with backpacks and spray the liquid out. They changed it to a environmental friendly, like donuts type application or like pellets. It really became more efficient and more effective. Along that, Tom really was, he continued the relationship with the Air Force for the aerial flights, and he was very proactive in that and keeping the citizens of the county, management and the board, along with the beekeepers, notified on those aerial activities. But I think the biggest thing that Tom Gallagher and Jim Rhineflesh did at the time was public outreach.
You get various repellents. It's got DEET in them.
They started a program where they went around to the elementary schools, 3rd graders. It was about a 45-minute program that really engaged the young kids in mosquito control and made it very fun and active. Along with that, there was a poster contest that was implemented. They started a fishery at the Waste Management Center where they had a hatchery and they made these fish available to the citizens where they could put in their ponds. And also now the program goes around to the residential ponds, BMPs in the neighborhoods and stock these BMPs with the gambusia fish to help control mosquitoes. A lot of these programs that were implemented were awarded the National Association of County Awards. Through the years, they received 5 of these awards, which is really outstanding for mosquito control. They also started a volunteer program for mosquito traps. What was very successful is those that would complain about the mosquitoes, Tom was very successful in getting them to become volunteers to count the actual mosquitoes, and that helped them focus the ground spraying efforts, the fog trucks, where they needed to go. They created a hotline where people could call up and find out where the fog trucks would be that evening. It was just a very, very proactive public education program.
Sounds like we owe a lot of thanks to both of those men for that, making it such a robust program.
Agree.
Actually. So Betsy, you know, every night it seems like we see something about mosquitoes, and lately it's been about Zika. They're in the TV media, they're in the print media, all of this. Now, Zika is just the most recent issue that we have that centers around mosquitoes. We've talked about Eastern equine encephalitis in the past. West Nile's been a problem. Yellow fever's been a problem. So why is this different? Why is there so much hype over this nationally?
Zika is a kind of a mystery. We are learning every day what it can do. I think the biggest problem is what it does to children. So that is a big concern about these pregnant women. most of the people, 20% of the people that have Zika virus don't even show symptoms. So I think that's a little frightening to us. And so as we're learning more and more about Zika, we can get that information out to our citizens. But I really want the citizens to know that we are being very proactive in making sure that we are protecting them and getting information out to them.
So in that vein about the information and the communication of the issues that are going on with Zika, so who do we consider to be credible sources? Where are we getting our information from that we share with the residents?
So we are constantly checking the CDC websites, the World Health Organization, and of course the Virginia Department of Health has a lot of information, and we're working very closely with them.
And Brian kind of outlined some of the history there. So currently, as far as what mosquito control is doing, so currently, what are some of the active things that you're doing right now?
So we started our surveillance much earlier this year. The mosquito that we are concentrating on is the Asian tiger, or the Aedes albopictus. That will come out much later in the year, but we wanted to start our surveillance just to see if this milder winter had an effect on when they would appear. So we've started collecting larvae. We've set out traps. We're trapping twice a week. We're doing canvassing, so we're knocking on doors and talking to our citizens. We're offering free inspections if anyone has concerns about breeding mosquitoes. And we're also encouraging everyone to just dump any water. We've had so much rain, and we would really like the citizens to go out and make sure that toys and buckets and wheelbarrows and their corrugated downspouts and tarps on their wood, just anything, tires they might have in the yard, are dumped out or taken to the Waste Management Center. We are having a drive in June 25th, and we will be accepting tires that day.
One of the things that I noticed recently at my own home was I let the gutters get clogged up a little bit, and they were holding some water. So we need to make sure we get our gutters cleared out as well. And so for some of those areas that are standing water, I think you all are distributing dunks, or what they might call the donuts. Can you talk about that a little bit, what they do and where they can get them?
We do. We have mosquito dunks at our office on 145 Goodwood Neck Road. You can get 2 per container, and one donut can cover like 100 square foot area. So if it's a small area, you can break the dunk up in pieces, especially if it's something you can't dump the water out. So we are trying to get dunks in other places throughout the county to make it more convenient, but if you cannot get to it, we will bring them to you.
So a gutter that doesn't necessarily have the right grade on it and doesn't drain, is that a fair use for a dunk?
I think that would be a perfect use for it. So.
Okay. And so along with this spraying and the larvicides, et cetera, so that requires some effort on your staff's part to make sure everybody gets trained and they're allowed to handle those kind of materials on a regular basis. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So the people that are working with mosquito control, our staff have registered technician license, and then the heads of each crew have a pesticide applicator, certified pesticide applicator license that they have. And it's in public health, so that is what the license that we have. So our license aren't just like regular pesticide license. We actually deal with public health.
Okay. Brian, back to you. The stormwater crews that you mentioned earlier about, we had 2 to start with and now we have 3. So what's their role in mosquito control?
Their primary role in mosquito control is to, one, keep the water moving in the county easements and drainage ways off the road. Obviously the mosquitoes are not going to, the larvicide is not going to survive in flowing water. It's the standing water that is the issue. And where they come across standing waters where they can't get it to drain is where they use the larvicide to help keep the mosquito population down. But as I mentioned, there's 3 crews now, and they're separated throughout the county as far as their responsibilities. And typically they will get around to each of the drainage ways at least twice a year, depending on the activities.
Right. Betsy, you mentioned too about, I wanted to go back and touch on something. The green initiative. So, we do have to use chemicals in some cases, but there are green things that we're doing too that are not an issue with the environment. Can you mention a couple of those?
Well, the larvicides that we use are natural. Some of them are even deemed organic, so they have been proven to be used on organic farming. We also use fish, and we are the only county in the state that is licensed to use the gambusia. And the county has used that for many years. That was one nice thing that Tom did. He brought that initiative. That was a very big one. We have a list of plants on our webpage that are mosquito repelling, and you're welcome to go on the website and see the plants that we have listed. And they are really great to get outside and do it. And so we've really been very happy with that program, and we'll come out and actually talk to the citizens about that as well.
And the information that's on your website for the citizens to use, where generally is that coming from?
Well, so the information that we have on our webpage are, just pretty much general information about the products that we use, the plants that we have out, the services that we have provided. So it's really just information that can be trusted. We don't put anything out there that we know that we haven't either tried it or other municipalities haven't tried. So it's pretty much been a long standard of what is done for mosquito control.
And then the fog trucks, when they go out on their routes, is that listed on the website as well?
It is listed. We post that every day, the routes the trucks will be taking before 3 p.m. on our hotline and also our webpage. And we have areas that are do not spray, and so we honor those people that do not want to be sprayed. And you can go on the webpage and sign up for a do not spray if you are a beekeeper or you have some kind of allergy or something.
Okay. And then our information, if I understand correctly, generally follows the Center for Disease Control's and then also the state health department and the local health district.
Yes.
Is that as well? Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. And if they wanted to call and ask for an inspection, what phone number would they call?
They would call 890-3790.
And that's an inspection for their yard,
Yes.
for purposes of
Or
their
if they
yard.
wanted to order fish or something like that.
And I think we'll do the same thing for businesses as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great, I appreciate that. So, Brian, recently at one of the board meetings, there were several citizen comments about aerial spraying, and there's an environmental aspect to this. There's a public safety aspect, public health aspect to this as well. There are a number of stakeholders, obviously the residents of the county, state, local, federal government, everybody would be involved, depending on the circumstances. But talk a little bit about aerial spraying, where we are now, what the Air Force has done in the past, what they're not going to do. If you could kind of bring us up to date on that, that would be great.
Sure. Currently, mosquito control doesn't have any plans to do aerial flights this coming season. However, based on the weather events, natural disasters, hurricanes, nor'easters, and the outbreak of mosquitoes, it may be necessary to do an aerial flight. But the aerial flight will not be successful in attacking all mosquito breeds. It will have to be targeted to those mosquitoes that do fly at nighttime, because that's when the aerial flight will take place. Obviously, as you know, it's raining today, but as we go through the season, if mosquito control starts seeing more issues, the population, and we can't control it with our ground attack and the larviciding, then we will make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and they will ultimately make the decision if aerial flight is the right thing for York County and its citizens.
Brian and Betsy, thank you for your comments today. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with some stormwater engineers from Public Works.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
So who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Welcome back. We are talking with Anna Drake and Amy Green on stormwater. So Anna, in the earlier segment, Brian talked a little bit about some of the stormwater crews working out in the field and keeping the ditches clear. Well, stormwater actually has the two aspects of it, the maintenance of it and the construction of it. I know that recently you finished a project at Dare Elementary School. Can you talk a little bit about that and mention some of the components of the project?
Sure. In stormwater management, there's two primary goals. And one of them is to slow down stormwater runoff so it's at a non-erosive velocity. And the second goal, it's kind of opposite that, is to hold stormwater so we can remove the pollutants before they're released into the Chesapeake Bay. And with the Dare Elementary Stream Restoration Project, we were able to accomplish both of those goals. We had a unique opportunity. It was about a 70-acre drainage area that was developed before the environmental regulations, so there was uncontrolled rainfall runoff off of buildings and pavement, parking lots and streets, and all that runoff had eroded a ravine that was easily 25 feet deep with vertical side slopes. Trees were collapsing in it, and that was right behind Dare Elementary School and right behind the closed construction landfill. So it presented a safety hazard for the elementary school students, and it was a health hazard because it was right next to a construction landfill. So we accomplished both of those goals by we restored 800 feet of stream, brought up the bottom of that stream and restored it with natural stream restoration techniques. And then ahead of the stream restoration, we constructed a wetland area. And that wetland area captures the stormwater runoff and it treats it with wetlands vegetation, and then it releases it slowly into the restored stream.
And I think, as I recall too, there was an educational component to that project because it was located right next to Dare Elementary School. Can you talk about what they do there?
Oh, that was a fortuitous location right behind the school. So it serves as an outdoor classroom. It's a great opportunity for kids to get outside and look at the wetlands that were created, learn about their benefits, their environmental functions, and learn about their unique environmental components in this ecological system.
Okay. Now you talked when you started early on in the answer about the project. You mentioned that your goals were to slow the water down and capture it. Those are kind of contrary to what the Mosquito people would like to see happen. So what are we doing in those instances to make sure that we're not creating a mosquito issue?
Well, we're fortunate that we have a great mosquito control program because our mosquito control folks treat these stormwater management facilities, these created wetlands. They stock the ponds with the gambusia fish and they treat it with larvicide to prevent mosquitoes.
Okay. And there was also a portion of that project also had something to do, was it goose netting or geese netting?
It's goose netting. It should be geese netting because it keeps out multiple geese, we hope. besides the mosquitoes, wetlands areas, besides mosquitoes, they also attract geese. And geese can be a pest when they reside year-round in this area. And of course, one of the things we do in a wetland is plant wetlands vegetation, and the geese love to eat it. And not only do the geese tear up the plants that we put in the ground, their waste material is a source of pollutants. So it's very important for us to deter geese from becoming established in those wetlands area. So we put up goose fencing. The unfortunate consequence is that it's not very pretty, it's rather unsightly, but it's only there for 2 years, and it's until the wetlands vegetation can get established, until those roots can get down in the soil, and then the geese can't pick them up and eat them.
Amy, so when it comes to alleviating standing water for private property owners, what things should they be doing to make sure that they're not having standing water on their property?
Proper lot grading is probably the number one thing. Another thing is have vegetation on your lot so it can collect some of the rainfall that's draining. Taking debris off the property, leaves, blocking any of the drainage pathways, ditches, tarps that are laying around. Pick anything up that's going to just be blocking any type of drainage.
And then as far as the ditches go, there are VDOT ditches, there are county easements, there are private.
Mm-hmm.
So how would a homeowner know who's responsible for what?
They can either contact 890-3752 and ask to be directed to someone that could answer that question for them, or they can go to www.yorkcounty.gov/publicworks and they can put in a service request and someone can contact them.
Okay. And there are some areas that might hold water that we're not really allowed to drain.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
We have wetlands that are located around the county. We have RPAs. Most of the wetlands are regulated by the DEQ. We have the Army Corps of Engineers that are also going to be regulating certain waters. So I guess the best way to be to contact York County and we can let you know.
You have another project that is similar in some ways to the one Anna described earlier. So it's Green Springs project. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's a project in the Upper County. It's similar to Anna's project, except we are not planning on putting a pond on the property. We're not going to be holding back water. We're just going to be slowing down the water, rebuilding the stream, and making it more natural environment. We're not going to have all the erosion taking place.
And what's the status of the project now?
We had a public meeting. We're in the conceptual phase of it, and then they're going to be beginning the design of it.
Okay, great. Amy and Anna, thank you for your comments today. We appreciate your input. And thank you for joining us and your interest in Public Works.